So, hi everyone, I'm Vanessa. I'm a 6-year PhD student at Penn in the Neuroscience Graduate Group, and today we are with Eric for our Virtual Interview 101 series. So, Eric went through the virtual interview process already, and he's going to give us some advice for all of you. So, Eric, if you can introduce yourself.
Or thank you, Vanessa, first of all, for this opportunity. So I'm Erick Perez. I'm a second year postdoc here at the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm currently investigating how viruses interact with the innate immune system at Susan Weiss's lab.
Great. All right, so we'll get started then. And so, can you tell us how you felt during your interview? This can be like how you felt right before you signed on, or just, or the like time leading up to it before you found out. So, tell us a little bit about how you felt.
That's a great question. I have to admit that in the first 5 minutes of the start of my interview, I felt my heart in my tongue. I felt my heart in my tongue,
Mm-hmm.
and that's totally normal. But as you start and the conversation continues, you start to feel like more relaxed and more
Mm-hmm.
secure about yourself.
Right. And so I imagine that then, like compared to your first interview, hopefully that feeling got a little bit better with like your other interviewers.
Totally, you
Yeah.
start to. I mean, that first interview is like, I would say horrible, but it's not that bad. And in the subsequent interviews, everything comes like more relaxed, better, more sure about yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
also you have a better vision of the type of questions that they're going to make and how to answer them.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. Eric, can you tell us then a little bit of how you prepared for your interview?
Course, that's an excellent question. Um, I first went to talk with my research advisor, also my mentors, and asked them what were the most common questions that were made during the interview.
Mm-hmm.
And also I have Googled those questions and I made a Word document with all those questions and also my answers to those questions. And what I did first was ask to myself those questions and answer. I did like practically a mock interview in the front of
Mm-hmm.
a mirror. Then when I felt more comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
I asked my friends if they could like do mock interview with me, and I
Okay.
practiced those answers with them. And then when I felt even more comfortable, I asked my mentors to do mock interviews with me, and that way, like, I practice even more. I just
Well,
practice and practice and practice.
yeah. So by the time that the interview process actually happened, you were probably an expert at that point.
I wouldn't say an expert, but I feel so secure about myself and enthusiastic about all the process that, yeah, I actually like the interviews. I enjoy them.
That's good. That's good. I mean, it's supposed to be a conversation, right? So
Exactly,
just like they're interviewing you, but you're interviewing them as well. And so being
definitely.
comfortable and being, enthusiastic about what you're saying is important because I feel like, especially with so many virtual meetings, it could be like, oh, not another one, right? But you have to be,
Exactly. That's a good point. That's not the way you should feel. You shouldn't feel like, oh, another interview. You should be enthusiastic. You should be
Mhm.
looking forward for it.
Exactly. And so you talked a little bit about you asked your mentors like about common questions that they might ask. I have a question regarding the questions. And so did you have a question that you felt the most comfortable answering, and do you have a question that you felt the least comfortable answering?
Question. I think the question that I felt more comfortable with was what was my research about,
Great.
because I practiced that question a lot, and also I knew my science. I knew why I was doing what I was doing.
Hmm.
The question that I felt not that good with
Hmm.
was what were my strengths and my
Hmm.
weakness.
I feel like people they focus on the research and like then don't want to talk about themselves, but yeah, they do want to get to know you as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, at least for the weakness. I don't know what you ended up saying, but I think an important part of that I would want people to know is say your weakness, but also say of like how you're improving that weakness, right? You don't want to just end something. you don't want to just say your weakness. You want to say, I'm not that good at this, but I'm working on it to improve this way, and give examples of how you're trying to improve it. Um, and so, and so my next question is, how many people did you interview with?
I interview with 4 people.
With 4 people? Okay. Yeah, and the range that I've been hearing is like 2 to 4, which is, I think, common.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I have another question. So did you have a question? So, at the end of the interview, they ask you, do you have any questions for me? Did you have a question that you asked all of the people you interviewed with? Or did you have specific questions for each of the people you interviewed with?
It's a good question. Not every time you're going to meet with people that you know their science. And with this, I mean, you're not always going to meet with people that you're related with their science.
Mm-hmm.
So a good question is to ask what your research about. This is general question. What's your research about? Also, what's your favorite project?
Okay.
Do you have any suggestions for? Another question is that you have any suggestions for me as a student that wants to start its PhD?
Those are great questions to ask. Yeah, the main thing is you always want to have a question to ask, right?
Definitely.
Eric, so my next question is, so for someone that's watching this and is about to go through the interview process, what advice would you give to them?
Question. So I would say that the first thing you should know your science, know what you're doing your science, know the broad aspect of it, why you're doing what you're doing, why you are investigating what you're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
then know the specific, like know your techniques, why you chose up that technique over other techniques that you could have used. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing is be sure about yourself. Show that you know what you're doing, and
Right.
also that you're enthusiastic. You want a PhD, you love what you're doing, you love
Mm-hmm.
research,
Right.
and know what you want to do at PhD. You don't want a PhD because you like it and you just want to do it. You want a
Mm-hmm.
PhD maybe because you want to be a professor in the future, or you really have a passion. You have show that you have a passion for research and for investigation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to say, "Oh, I want a PhD because I don't know what to do next." Right? That
Exactly.
is definitely do not say that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Eric, for giving us all of this advice. Good luck with the rest of your interviews. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Vanessa, and everyone. Good luck with your interviews. Everything is going to be well. Like, be anxious is normal. Be nervous also is normal, but you will do great.
Thank you, Eric.